We're good, right?
Yep.
You ready to tell the guys, our viewers, the bad news? That this is gonna be our last episode.
Last episode for 2 weeks.
Last episode ever.
Shut the front door.
Nah, I mean we're gonna be on a little break, you know.
Yeah, so I got a couple vacations coming
Yeah.
up. So we're not going to be able to record episodes, you
Yeah.
dramatic motherfucker.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go on a few trips too myself.
Yeah, to where? All right. What's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Unracked podcast. We're helping gym rats of all levels to enhance their fitness and other aspects of their lives through conversation and firsthand experiences. We're your hosts. I'm Mike Gersh.
And I'm Josh Angel.
In the last episode, we continued the series where we're taking a deeper dive into the specific muscle groups. Last week, we talked about the many muscles that make up the shoulders and forearms. So today, what we want to take a look in closely is the core and abs and the muscles that make up each group. So as you know, this little series, we want to mostly share information about the makeup of each muscle and exercises that target different parts of the muscle, as well as different compound lifts that are going to recruit multiple parts of the muscle at once. This is going to help you understand any areas you're particularly strong or others that you're lacking to help guide you on how to program to work towards a symmetrical, well-rounded daddy C-bum physique. So I've said this on every episode. This is the last episode of the series, actually, so this is the last time I will be saying this disclaimer.
We got a few more after this.
What other body parts are there than core and abs? Don't say something
Jawday?
inappropriate.
Jaw day, bro.
Okay, so the first one you said was inappropriate, so I'm going to cut you off. So in this disclaimer, we're going to be talking specifically about muscle building hypertrophy, not specific to any performance-based training styles like athletic training for sports or powerlifting. So everybody wants that six-pack abs, right?
Wait, should we do another disclaimer that, no matter how many abs you do, abs are made in the kitchen first?
Bro, we went over the outline. That's like the last thing. That's how we wanted to round it out.
Disclaimer of the disclaimer.
No, we're going to get into that in the end. You jumped the gun. You gotta keep the viewers on suspense. You can't just give away the whole kitchen. You gotta give them a little tease with the sink.
Nah, you gotta give them some because most people might click off later. I mean, it's
okay. So the core muscles.
Gotta give them some. Gotta give them the bait.
Yeah, but you said the whole thing. That's not bait.
That is some bait.
You gave them the whole fish.
That's not the whole fish. It's a good juicy part of it.
Can we start?
Yeah.
All right. So when it comes to the core and abs, I think the main thing to keep in mind as we go over like the different parts of the muscle group. So the abs are the front part of the core. So the core is the entire midsection. So when you're doing a heavy compound lift, like for example, a squat or a deadlift, when someone says brace your core, you inhale, I feel everything in my midsection tighten up. It's not just my abs.
Yeah. I don't know if you feel this way, but I think when I do it, I feel that I'm like breathing out, but I'm not letting any air go out. I'm like holding that's how I keep my core tight, personally. That's like my cue of it. Like, hopefully I can describe this right. Like breathe in, and then like kind of like brace I guess it's like flex your stomach, right?
Yeah.
Flex your abs, and I feel like I'm like pushing air out, but I'm not letting it out.
So I think I know exactly what you're saying because I felt it as you were describing it. I do the same thing where it's like breathing in is the cue.
Yeah.
Right? So you breathe in, and then once your inhale is complete, naturally you're gonna tighten up. And exactly what you're saying, the only difference is you're not exhaling. If you exhale, you're gonna let go of all of the tightness. So it's the kind of thing where if you're trying to achieve the tightness by bracing, you inhale, and then the second you start feeling yourself going to exhale, you just simply don't.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a really good way to describe it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's like honestly the best way to describe it because it's just kind of hard to like tell someone new like they have to just kind of experiment themselves.
Teaching someone to
Yeah.
brace is like, it seems on paper, as someone who's been bracing for a long time, it seems like a very simple instruction, but it does come with a lot of like mind muscle connection. It's not as like, I guess, instinctual for all people as it is for some others.
Do you think it helps people brace better if they have like a belt? Because I feel like it's a lot easier because you're pushing against something. Like you kind
Like
of
a
know.
weight belt.
Yeah, like any belt, Like
Yeah,
yeah,
no, for sure. That's
yeah.
that's literally part of the purpose of the belt, is to help you brace better. But the belt does also provide a lot of extra stability that, from your like genetic makeup as a human, we're unable to produce ourselves. That's why people started using the belt, because the external pressure was able to get that much higher level of a brace. And so
Mm.
that's why obviously powerlifters use it as they're warming up and getting to their like top heavy sets. And then even like bodybuilders use it too, because they want to stay tight throughout their entire exercise.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing, as a bodybuilder, obviously, you want a thin waist and visible abs. And that's something that if you're just constantly flexing your abs, it's going to A, create the illusion on the waist, and B, build those ab muscles.
Yeah, because it helps you work out your muscles. And it's a different type of muscle that you don't get like doing like ab crunches too. Ah, fuck. I wish I remembered the name of it, but it's like the muscle you use to do the vacuums.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
know what you're talking about.
yeah, because when you do vacuums or anybody does like a vacuum, that works out a different part of of an ab muscle.
Yeah, so I'm going to look up exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. I just forget the name of it. While I'm looking that up, just to run through. So, again, we're going to go through the overall core. Most of these names, although scientific, I would say they're pretty self-explanatory scientific.
Hmm.
So,
No need to dumb it down.
yeah, exactly. So the rectus abdominis and the transverse abdominis, those are just the two parts that make up the abs. The obliques, the internal and external,
The
obviously
fish
those.
scales, baby.
Yes, sir. Those are the ones on the side. The fish gills, like Josh mentioned, and then the ones like at the bottom, like if
Yeah.
you don't have love handles, you see your obliques defined.
Hmm.
The erector spinae, we all know that's in the back, and then the muscles of the pelvic floor. So that's closer to like the hips and everything like that. And then let me just Google muscles worked by vacuum.
Honestly, I think when you have the obliques on point, that really brings out your whole physique, and especially the fish scales. Like that thing just looks good.
So, funny story about the fish gills. As everyone knows by now, if you've listened to the podcast, you know, straighten your mic towards you.
Oh shit! Didn't even realize it's like crooked.
Anyone who's listened knows that my fitness career, I started very skinny. So I was one of those skinny kids that I didn't have like a very defined six pack, but I didn't have much body fat, so I had abs. I always thought the fish gills were just my ribs showing.
Oh,
I didn't realize it was an actual muscle that I was working out, because when I started, I did mostly compound lifts. So I was indirectly working my core and therefore getting those ab muscles.
Okay. For a second there, that you're gonna say like, oh, I did a bunch of abs. Which a lot of people do that too. When they first start, they just start hitting abs like constantly. I was a victim of that too. I was just doing abs like almost every day.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, it's another thing that can easily be overtrained, but also
Yes.
takes a lot to like really work it, right? So like we're going to talk about, a lot of what we're going to talk about, you're working it indirectly through compound lifts, but then there are other exercises that you can do that will target different parts specifically. And then the vacuum pose is the transverse abdominis.
Transverse.
So that was on
abdominis.
the list.
Okay.
So I believe that's more of like the upper ab, and then the rectus abdominis is the lower ab.
Mm.
That's where you get like that like V,
Okay.
like right above the groin
Okay.
area. That's why you see a lot of like the men's physique bodybuilding competitors. They pull their shorts down like a half inch, just so you can see
That whole like V.
the V taper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I need to start doing more of that in the poses. Hey yo.
Well, I feel like I'm fat right now, so I keep my tank top on when I pose.
Yeah. And too white too.
But even when I'm fat, I generally have like the V going. It's just like
It's like-
I always have the top two
Yeah.
abs, but it's like the bottom four
Uh-huh.
depends on how I've been eating.
If your thing looks like a U, don't don't go to the diet first.
Oh my goodness. But again, just some benefits of working these core muscles. I would say the main three, it's going to be like stability and support, right? So stability when it comes to like overall lifting, you're going to be able to control heavier weight to be able to maximize the hypertrophy of the movement. It's really going to help with your posture as well, which is ironic because I have terrible posture. Like I feel myself leaning forward as I try to talk into the microphone, and it will bulletproof your back. So this is one thing. I have had some experiences myself with medical professionals. For whatever reason, they don't want you to lift weights. But what a lot of studies have proven over time is people that have back injuries, if they have back pain or back discomfort, whatever it may be, these are the people that actually benefit the most from doing exercises that work their core and their erector spinae, like deadlifts, for example. Obviously, I'm not going to tell somebody that has scoliosis to go deadlift 315 and see what happens because they're probably just going to like snap in half like a fucking twig.
Yeah.
But it's like anything else. When done with controlled intensity, with the moderation of like being able to track progressive overload and make progress, a lot of people in these studies have come back and reported that as they've strengthened their erector spinae, their back pain or their back discomfort just disappears. Like it goes away. So I've had a lot of, sorry, I'm going on a little rant here, but I'm landing the plane right now.
And the plane.
I actually had an experience recently where I went to the doctor for my foot, and I think it's because I was doing sumo deadlift where it was like the outside of my foot was really bothering me. The doctor asked me how much I deadlift. And I was like, oh, at the competition I was in, I deadlifted 507 pounds. And he was like, oh my God, you shouldn't even be deadlifting at all. You're going to hurt yourself, blah, 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 this, that, like, be careful, all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, dude, if I was going to hurt myself, like, that's when it would have been. Like, I'm training in a way where everything I do is controlled so I don't hurt myself.
Mhm.
And there's just a lot of medical professionals who react that way to lifting heavy, to deadlifting heavy specifically. But again, these studies show that these people report the back pain or back discomfort disappearing when these exercises are done correctly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Even this kind of goes back to like when we were talking about the squat, like even just doing the movement, like any part where like a squat, if you're just going down like without any weight, that's more than enough to like build some muscle and like get you going with your core. And the same thing with the deadlift, like even if you're just doing the movement alone, is gonna help with any back pain and help your core. Speaking of stories, dude, that happened to me. I'm sure you remember this. It was like a year ago. Yeah, like a year ago, I hurt my back from the deadlifts,
Yeah,
and I
you
went to
fucked your shit up, bro. I remember that.
Yeah, like it was pretty bad, but pretty much yeah, the doctors just tell you to like not lift or do anything. They kind of show you some stretches, but it's like kind of the basic, the basic shit that like you should, like you should know by just googling it. But and they do give you some painkillers that which helps too. But for me, I just kind of went back to try to do the movement. Like I was kind of in pain, of course, but I was still trying to do the movement without any weight, and then slowly build up to like the bar. I'm trying to remember what I did. I for sure just started slow and build my way up like a plate. Okay, that felt easy. My muscles feel pretty good. Then 2 plates, and then slowly back up. And afterwards, my back was fine too. Because then after that, I got with coach pretty much, and then like it just kept it kind of chill, and then just made sure my form was good.
Exactly, and that's the kind of thing where once you get to that level of like, I'm there, no doubt. I mean, we have a podcast about fitness. I feel pretty confident to say I'm addicted to fitness. Um, Once you get to that point where you're like super into fitness, like you're seeing progress, and then something happens, whether it's in your control or not, and you end up hurting your back. I would say lower back is probably the most common, but it's mostly because people are doing things wrong. So, what a lot of people do is they become addicted to the gym because they're seeing progress, they get hurt, and then maybe they rehab it, maybe they don't. Like they do physical therapy or something like that. But exactly what you said you did, you eased your way back into it. That's the smart way to do it. What a lot of people do is they just test their limit right away. Where you probably did body weight, you did the 45-pound bar. The chances that you were like sore from the actual exercise in like a hypertrophy manner is very slim. Just based on even if you were out for 6 weeks, bro, like your muscle wouldn't atrophy that much where you were deadlifting over 405 before and now you're doing the bar just to ease back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what people do is, and I actually did this, this was my thumb, so it's like the body generally heals in the same way, but I use the example of my thumb. This is what a lot of people do. I tore a ligament in my thumb. I went to physical therapy. I did all these exercises to re-strengthen the muscle around the ligament so it would like heal properly. What I did and what most people do in the scenario of physical therapy is I did physical therapy until it stopped hurting. Once it stopped hurting, I just went back to going to do everything normal. But what most people don't do is even when it stops hurting, I should have continued to do those exercises because now, like you can probably see, my left thumb, I can't bend it as far down, right? Like my right thumb is an L, my left thumb looks more like a J.
Okay.
So it's the kind of thing if I properly rehabbed my thumb, where a lot of people do this with, again, for example, their lower back, this is why they have those injuries that keep coming up because they don't ease back into it. They hurt themselves deadlifting 405. They stop deadlifting until their back feels okay again. And then the first time they deadlift, they try to deadlift 405 again, and they're confused as to why they re-injured their back.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like we're getting into injury prevention, but it's a good point though still because like I think another thing that people make mistakes on if they take too long of a break and then they don't go back into like kind of like a training mode even if it's light too like I was saying like getting me starting light and stuff. I pretty much went back as soon as possible where like I can actually bend down because I almost couldn't even bend down. But the problem is when some people do is like they don't do the physical therapy like you say or they lack it and they wait longer to like actually recover and that takes longer and it's in the long run you're just gonna take a longer time to recover. And well, people that actually do physical therapy and they do extra afterwards they recover faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like anybody that you might know, like for example my dad he tore his Achilles but he did physical therapy like as soon as possible and he did like extra and then the doctors told him like, oh, you're like he healed like almost a month early than he was supposed to. So like situations like that you can heal up faster if you're actually doing more than you're supposed to.
Yeah, and it's another one of those things where healing is mainly genetic and partially focus or intent, whatever you want to call it. So genetically, you're going to heal however you heal. Some people naturally heal faster than others. But if you have two people who heal exactly the same rate, which is very unlikely, but just for
Yeah,
the sake
like
of the
somehow
example,
like genetically.
just
Yeah.
for the sake of the example, if you have two people that heal genetically exactly the same rate, one is doing a bunch of physical therapy and one isn't. Obviously, the one that's doing the physical therapy with the intention of healing faster is going to have more short-term and long-term healing success. So, long story short here, again, the erector spinae is going to be very important to work for stability reasons. This is something as simple as someone elderly trying to get into working out just to be able to like stand up and sit down without discomfort, right? So it goes a lot further than just like I want to deadlift PR. So the core is probably the most. I take that back because I actually already said this about the legs. The core is probably the second most functional muscle group out of everything. I was about to say the most, but then I remembered in the legs episode I said that about the legs, so I can't go back on what I said.
Didn't we say the back was kind of the most important before? Because they were like, oh, we can't really train legs if our back's all fucked up, right? Because I remember I said that. I don't know if you said that.
No, I think I rebutted saying the legs are the most important for functionality because you need them to like stand up and walk around. If I can't even walk to a platform, how am I gonna deadlift to work my back?
I mean, it's the same thing with the back too. Like if you have your back's fucked
It's
up, you can't
mutually
walk. You know.
If you don't have a back but you have legs, yeah. But if you don't have
But then you
legs,
know
but
what?
you
I
have
think what we're saying too is like, okay, you can have skinny legs and still walk around, but if you have like a nice, strong back, you can pick stuff up. You can sit down without any pain. I think that's like kind of the other point we were talking about, like, like sitting down. You know how we were talking about back pain before, and then like sitting down, like, oh, you get back pain after 8 hour shift or whatever. Like you're not involving your legs at all with that back pain. It's you're training your back to strengthen it, and then so you don't experience that pain. You don't need to do that for like legs.
But I would disagree. I think everything is so connected that I've seen instances where people have back pain and it's directly tied to something of like how they've been walking. For example, that's an example that I saw. Like the way someone was walking was pushing a lot of pressure up the pelvic area, and then that in turn was causing nerves in the back and the erector spinae area to push into each other. And when nerves push into each other, that's when they were feeling the discomfort. So I think, like you said, this is more the injury
I mean,
prevention.
it is still tough to like, yeah, everything's evolved, for sure. Like for example, like the knee, like if you have knee pain, it's either your hips or your quads. So it's like you're lacking, and that's why you have knee pain. So yeah, everything you need everything.
For sure.
So, yeah. We'll get back to the abs.
So I think we covered generally everything in the core. When it comes to the difference between the core and the abs, so like we talked about, the core is everything. The abs are just the front. The rectus is the bottom. The transverse, is the top area. Like Josh talked about, that's what you work when you do the vacuum pose.
I feel like the abs are like the appearance, and then like the core is like the engine. You're not gonna see the engine.
So the abs are 110% the most sought after pretty muscle, but I feel like
they're useless.
Let me,
almost
no,
useless.
No. They're not. They're
almost.
They're used a lot for like the rotational movement. So don't say they're useless. They're very important. What I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. Of all of the like pretty glamour muscles, they have probably one of, if not the most functional use of rotating the trunk. Where what is like a bicep curl gonna do for me? Like
Look
functionally,
nice, dude, baby.
No, functionally.
Pick up girls, dude.
Okay, functionally.
Pick up your water. Take your groceries aside, dude.
Yeah, but you don't need a bicep to be able to pick up a water bottle.
I mean,
that's all elbow joint.
dude, if you want to pick up like furniture or stuff like that, you need
You're
it.
just arguing to argue.
You asked me though. You're like you asked me what am I gonna pick up with my bicep, and I'm answering you.
No, but I'm saying functionally, what can you do with your bicep that's more important than functionally being able to rotate your torso? You're
Or
just
pick it up-
you're giving me examples, but you're not giving me better examples.
I can say, because you're gonna use your bicep to like, like I said, pick up stuff, move stuff around, and drive. I feel like you use your muscles to drive too.
You use your biceps to
Yeah, you're gonna
turn
move
the steering,
yeah.
bro. You might need to work on your mind muscle connection.
Dude, I noticed that when I
That's
had my host.
what are you just like straight flex the whole time you're driving, bro?
Well, I feel it when I had like my tattoo sleeve because I couldn't even move my bicep really, and I felt all the pain right there.
But that's different. That's all
Well, because I was
nerves.
moving my body and I felt
But
it.
the tattoo is all nerves.
Yeah, no, but I felt the pain right there mostly.
But I'm saying
But if I didn't move my arm, I didn't feel any pain.
your tattoo is nerves, right? Not muscles.
But I'm moving the muscles.
Yes, but by moving the muscles, you're getting the reaction from the nerves. You're not moving your muscle in a way that is getting blood to it functionally by doing something that will hypertrophically.
But you're still moving everything. It's like you said earlier, everything's connected, right? I mean, because, yeah, it's mostly shoulders for sure. But you're also connected to the bicep.
If you use your bicep when you're driving, that's just absurd to me. The only way I can see it is if you're like holding the steering wheel like underhand.
You don't have to hold it. You can do it like this. Okay, because if you move your arm, it's your shoulders, right?
Yes, but what I'm saying is anything like in a driving motion, it's not as much your muscles where it's going to be like your joints. It's like your mobility. Right? If I'm holding on to the steering wheel, bro, I'm not flexing my forearm.
But you're using everything.
You shouldn't be flexing your muscles to turn the steering wheel.
Why am I flexing it? I'm just moving it. I'm using my bicep to go up, not like posing.
Okay, but I'm saying what I mean when I say functionality is you're using your muscle to complete a movement. When you take a step,
Oh, you just mean like
flex
moving?
your quad, right?
Okay.
To take the impact.
Okay.
You flex your quad. You're not flexing your bicep and shoulders while you're turning the steering wheel. So my argument is, of all the pretty glamour muscles, the abs are the most underrated when it comes to functionality because of the benefit they give to be able to rotate the torso.
Okay.
There's no functional movement that you can do with your bicep that is going to surpass the benefit of being able to rotate your torso.
Okay.
And I don't think that you use your bicep functionally when you're turning the steering wheel.
Well, I thought functional, yeah. I mean, because like you said, like you're just moving around and stuff like that. That's different. But I thought we were just like saying like examples, like I said earlier, like picking up shit like that.
No, I
Yeah.
was talking about functionality, and I was
Okay. I understand. I misunderstand your question then.
maybe I may have phrased it not the best way. My point was,
Like your day to day, like you said, your quad, like you walk your quad, you're hitting your, I mean,
Yeah.
like walking, you're hitting your quad.
so my original question to you was, and let me think about how I phrased it. What functionality do you get from your bicep that's more important or more beneficial than being able to rotate your trunk due to your abs? And you named a bunch of
You know what? I say
quote unquote functional movements from your bicep.
You know
but
what's actually the next important thing? Scratching your back. You gotta, get back there.
but again, that's mobility, bro. I'm not scratching the. If I flex my
No, you know what,
bicep, I
that's-
can't even get as far back.
You know what? That's more tricep action, dude. You're doing the skull crushers.
If I'm doing this and I flex my bicep, I can't get it. Yeah, I can't even get as far back.
Yeah,
So I would argue whatever the opposite of functionality.
Then you gotta do this like the monkey ape scratch. Yeah. Damn, bro.
Um. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
the abs are arguably, I guess, the most functional pretty muscle.
Okay.
We can agree on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I just didn't understand the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're on
Yeah.
the same page now, folks. So again, the ab is just like the front part of the midsection. Typically that six-pack look that most people are going to be looking for, as well as the external obliques. So those, as we know, are the fish gills. And then, like we just talked about, the abs are mostly responsible for like flexing and rotating the trunk, which is a very underrated functional movement, no matter what level of gym goer or age you are. You want to get into some exercises?
Nah, not really.
All right,
Nah, I'm
cool.
saying,
So
dude,
moving
we'll
on.
talk to the exercises.
One thing I will say, excuse me, one thing I will say, as we talk about these exercises, I feel like a lot of people post like workouts on Instagram of like
Oh, some crazy.
15-minute ab workouts. There's some very like crazy, over the top, ridiculous workouts. My recommendation, don't pay attention to that bullshit. It is bullshit.
6-pack shortcuts.
Yeah, so there is no way of getting a shortcut to a six-pack. One thing to keep in mind when you're programming, this is going to be similar to any other muscle group, where if I only do exercises that work my transverse abdominis, then I'm only going to work that muscle. You need to program your ab workouts to work the transverse, to work the rectus, to work your obliques and the fish gills, and you need to have well-rounded programming, because what people don't tell you when they put these programs on Instagram, whether they actually do it or not, they don't always do this, but you need to be strategic with your programming to hit each part of the muscle. Where, like we talked about, for example, like when we talked about the shoulders,
Or the back, too.
well, I'm just going to use the example of the shoulder because there's like 45,000 back muscles. With the shoulders,
58.
right, it was the front, the medial, and the rear delt. If you do a bunch of front delt exercises and you're like, why aren't my rear delts growing? Then you're an idiot because you're not working your rear delt. So it's the same thing for abs, where people think, oh, I'm just going to do sit-ups and I'm going to have abs. Like, that ain't it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much more to it.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think you could break it down, too, like, to, like, I guess, like, 3 pretty. If you want to look pretty, you know, all you got to do is the lower, upper, and then obliques. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my point exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is if someone tells you there's a
And then core
20,
separate.
30 minute ab workout, honestly, that's probably too much unless you're a professional bodybuilder and you make your money off how tight your abs are.
True. If you
If
really
you're
want.
just doing exercises to work your general abs to get that leaner, more trim look, then all you need to do is hit those 3 parts that you just talked about. And
Yeah.
you probably only need to do like 3 sets of each. So that would take you, bro, if you superset it, that's probably 5-10 minutes.
Oh, but Mike, what if I want to, you know, do ab crunches with like the 100 pounds? Is that too much?
I mean, if you can control it for like 15 to 20, no, it's not too much. But the average gym goer, myself included, I don't really directly work my abs. I don't think I would be able to do that.
Yeah,
So
no, it'd be
that-
tough.
I'll say that's definitely way too much.
It'd be tough for me too. Yeah.
Actually, it depends.
It depends. Depends if you're C bum or not.
What
Yeah.
did he do? Is that
No, I haven't seen him do. I'm just saying.
okay?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty
He
ridiculous.
said I saw a video like maybe like a long time ago. He said he doesn't really train his abs that much, but he's just genetically gifted.
Well, I know.
Because some people are, some people with certain muscles are just genetically gifted where they can only work it out like they only have to work out like once or twice,
Yeah,
like lightweight, and their shit's popping.
and excuse me. I think that's the kind of thing too, and this is what you were alluding to. I think we should just jump into this and then go into the exercises. Um, what Josh said earlier, the direct quote, obviously, abs are made in the kitchen. Um, so, one thing when it comes to abs, obviously, you want to strategically program, hit those three main parts that we just talked about, and we'll go into some exercises that will highlight those three main parts. But if you're eating in a way that you're gaining body fat, you are probably building your ab muscles, but you're not going to be able to see them. So, two things about abs. Number one, a mistake that a lot of people make, and I know this is something I've said on the podcast before. 99.9% of people need to start not necessarily in like a crazy bulk, but in somewhat of a surplus to where you're building muscle. Because maintenance, unless you're overweight, right? Maintenance, you're probably not going to build muscle unless you ate 40 grams of protein a day and you upped it to 200 grams of protein a day. In a deficit, your really main goal of a deficit is to shred body fat, right? So when people are shredding body fat but they don't have muscle, that's when they get all flabby. So I recommend most people start in a bulk so they build the muscle. So then when we go into that first deficit, that's when they really see, for example, the abs start to come in because they've now built that base layer of ab muscle as opposed to just shredding off all the body fat with no muscle really underneath. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I know I
get what you mean, because you want them to build the muscle first and then lose the fat afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that's the kind of thing where...
But, if someone just or doesn't know or they just want to lose the fat like right away, because some people just don't want to be fat and build muscle too. I mean, if you actually just lose the fat somehow, you do a good program or whatever, and you lose the fat, I mean, the abs are going to be there, but just not going to be bulky. They're going to be small, thin, because everybody has abs underneath, but it just won't be defined. You're going to have like baby abs.
Yeah, well, again, that's everyone.
You might not have the best physique look, but at least the fat's gone.
Well, exactly. We're talking in the sense of hypertrophy, right? And hypertrophy, by definition, is muscle building.
Yeah.
So the point of what I'm saying is, in a hypertrophy sense, you want to start in a bulk so you build the muscle, where I know the general population has the mindset that they don't think they care about this until they lose the weight and they don't have abs still. So if you have a good trainer who listens to what your goals are, they should be able to communicate what I just said to be like, hey, I understand that you probably want to start in a deficit. Most of my clients were in a similar scenario to you, but what they found is that by starting in a bulk, they were able to build a baseline of muscle while losing weight, because as we know, once you start to eat better, you're naturally going to lose some of that weight while building the muscle, even in a surplus. And then at that point, when you go into the first deficit, that's when you really see like all of the hard work of that muscle building start to show, because now when you're in that deficit, you're focused on burning fat. Because a lot of people too get caught in the vicious cycle of maybe they're not one of the trying to lose weight people, right? Maybe it's someone who's been going to the gym for a little bit. This is actually a cycle I myself was caught in for a little bit before I started powerlifting. You feel small, so you start to bulk, and then you feel fat, and so you go on a cut. But you don't do any of it long enough to actually see the progress of what you're doing, and then you just shoot yourself in the foot and you don't really make much progress in that time.
That's true because a lot of people do that cycle where they bulk for the winter. Like right now, people are probably bulking right now, or maybe they already started. And then by the time summer's almost coming around, they start doing the cut. But then like by then, it's kind of like not enough time. You like either or. Like it's either you didn't have enough time for the bulk, or it's not enough time for the cut. So like one is gonna get sacrificed for sure.
I will say, sorry to interrupt you. I will say also, just to your point, not nearly enough people bulk.
Yeah.
Continue.
Well, that's what I was gonna get to next. Like, if you're small, skinny, like you should take like at least like I don't know. It depends. It depends for sure. Before I say this, but like at least 1 or 2 years of like just straight bulking, for sure.
I know what you're gonna reference, bro. I know what you're about to. Do you want me to say, or do you want to say it?
If you're like under 200 pounds, you gotta get in the bulk.
So Sam Sulek, a pretty well-known fitness influencer,
Yeah.
he has a very like monotone, like middle of the road like
He's
style
he's
of
chill,
presenting his information. So you can never really tell if he's being serious or
Yeah.
if he's trolling. He is on a bunch of steroids, so keep that in mind as I say
Always
this.
gotta put
But
that disclaimer on.
he says something that, I mean, I find it funny. I don't think it's true, but I find it funny. He said something along the lines of like, anybody that's under 200 pounds should go on a bulk until they're 200 pounds.
Yeah. Honestly, I just think that's more possible and more.
No, it's unreasonable.
No. I was gonna say it's more possible for people that are like 6 feet because it also depends on the height, you know.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, even for me, like I've tried
But
to
even
get to
then, it's
200
like-
pounds and I've struggled.
But even then, it's like it's everybody's different and stuff like that. But like even if that's like reasonable, like you got to be like 6 feet to like have it a little bit easier. Like for me, like 5'8", oh my god, if I was 200 pounds, bro, I would be like a walk-in fridge.
But again, you have to take into consideration
The mus-
genetics.
yeah,
Like
muscle.
I know people like Matt. He's told Andrew's friend.
Yeah,
He's told me that he can gain weight, lose weight very easily. Like he doesn't like he tries to maintain because he can just fluctuate so much. Where like for me, as you know, it's always been more difficult for me to gain weight because especially after I learned everything I learned about nutrition and like obviously my food allergy, it's the kind of thing where I've always tried to bulk somewhat clean. Where like Sam Sulek, for example, again on a bunch of steroids,
the donuts for breakfast.
he posts videos of himself like he eats like 6 or I don't know if
It
it's
was
6 or
six.
12.
It was 6.
It's 6. Okay,
Yeah, it was
6
6.
Krispy Kreme donuts. He's in Target
The milk.
just like chugging chocolate milk, not even milk, chocolate milk
Yeah.
too. So there's like a bunch more like sugar and all that other stuff. And so
That cereal, baby.
he diets in such an unhealthy way, but he's on such a high amount of steroids that it like he's able to convert these calories. So for him, he's a big calories in, calories out believer, where I'm more of a believer in the macronutrients. Calories in, calories out will only take you so far. But a lot of what his points are like he has one video talking about like if he got 2 Wendy's cheeseburgers,
Oh,
he
yeah.
doesn't look at it as eating 2 Wendy's cheeseburgers. He looks at it as eating 50 grams of fat, 57 carbs, and 25 grams of protein. Like he just
He said no. He said like 40 grams of protein, but it still doesn't
whatever the
matter.
number.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to get the number right, but the point is the doing it calories in, calories out can only get you so far. If you're doing a bodybuilding show or if you're like on that cut getting ready for summer, you'll go a lot further in your goal of trying to lose body fat to get visible abs by tracking your macros compared to just your calories in, calories out. Because he does track his macros, but he's also eating shitty food. So if you're eating whole foods and tracking your macros, you're going to go much farther than not doing either of those things.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said. He's doing his macros, but it doesn't matter what kind of calories he's getting. It's just as long as he hits his macro goals, he's just all right. That's fine, you know. I eat
Yeah.
like 2 cheeseburgers, but I hit my macros.
Well, if you think of two different carb sources. One is white rice and one is Krispy Kreme donuts. Obviously, you're going to be able to digest white rice easier. So when it does come time to actually pose, like, it's not just going to be a lump in your stomach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Part of it is flatness. So if you just have like a lump of 6 Krispy Kreme donuts in your stomach, it's going to affect how you look when you pose. But
Man, I forgot I was gonna add something to that. Oh yeah, you know what I was gonna say? If you're under 200 pounds, you need to get in the cut, dude. Oh no, if you're above 200 pounds, you need to get on the cut, dude.
fat motherfuckers.
The
Nah,
opposite, dude.
There's some like crazy big motherfuckers out there that like there's some people that there was a couple guys I met at Gold's. I know I've said this before. There's a lot of like I met a couple IFBB pros. There's a lot of people into bodybuilding. Like that was like the style of gym that it was. There was a lot of people that obviously I didn't just, let me preface by saying, I didn't walk up and ask someone how much they weighed. We would have conversations, and these were people that I got more comfortable with. And
What's your body fat percentage, bro?
in conversation, I would ask them how much they weighed. And there was people that on both ends of the spectrum very much surprised me. Like there were some shorter dudes who were like, yeah, I weigh 215. And then there was some taller dudes who were like, yeah, I'm like 195. And it's just, it's wild how differently everyone holds weight.
You know, it's even different too. Like, let's say you had someone your exact height and weight, their muscle, how the whole muscle is gonna be different. Even if they're
muscle density too.
yeah, even if the exact height, exact same weight as you, it's still gonna be different. No one can be exactly the same.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why.
Man, we went to a crazy rant right there, bro. So back to
Okay.
So back to abs, right?
Well, okay. So the point with that was what you said. Abs are made in the kitchen. You need to build your ab muscles by doing the exercises we're about to go over, but you won't be able to see them unless most likely you're in a calorie deficit, or you're someone like me who I get leaner just on maintenance because I have a very fast metabolism. So I'm very lucky in that sense where I don't hold a lot of body fat. Mainly where I hold body fat is my stomach, which
I think majority of people do, like at least first, right? And then maybe other places afterwards, yeah, more. Or like some people.
Well, I guess I'm saying for me, like I'm at a body fat percentage where I don't notice it anywhere but my stomach.
Okay.
So I'm sure if I went to a higher percentage, I would start to hold it other places. So I'm sure you're right in that sense, but I'm just saying for me, I've never really gotten past the point that I'm at right now of only really noticing it in my stomach.
I think it's hard to tell too once you have to get fat first, and then you go down, and then you see the pictures like, oh shit, I was holding a lot of water or like more fat, like my shoulders, face, whatever,
Well,
legs.
even for me, like I know for you, like you're.
Yeah, because I was kind of talking about me too. I was like, notice my arms, like, oh shit, like I had like mostly like fat. It looked like fat mostly in my arms for sure. Legs a little bit too, of course.
Yeah.
Like, but then everything for sure. My stomach for sure. Everything's for sure. My stomach, like you, like stomach first, love handles, the back, whatever, and then everything else after.
And like your transformation was very drastic, right? Obviously, your goal was for it to be drastic to show.
All lighting though.
What?
All lighting though.
All lighting, bro. Lighting and angles. But your goal was to have it to be drastic. So that was something that you set out and you accomplished. With me, my, I guess, bulk was more gradual, where leading up to my meet, the most I weighed was 190, and then I had a couple things happen like leading up to the meet where I lost a few pounds. I competed on meet day at 187. But looking back at the pictures of the meet, or like the videos, whatever, like my arms still look very lean. Like I think of that one picture. It's actually my profile picture on Instagram right now, where I'm like celebrating after I hit the third deadlift, and I'm kind of doing like a front double bicep almost, and like
Hmm.
my veins are like just absolutely popping out of my arms. My shoulders look very defined, and it's like
Bro has too much
that's
L citrulline in him.
but that's not what I was training for at all. I was trying to gain weight, and with gaining
Uh-huh.
weight in the way I was doing it, I wasn't doing the cleanest bulk, so I was obviously gaining body fat as I was doing it. But my point is, I never got past the point of the body fat really just being on my stomach. Like my arms and my legs were still like relatively lean.
I think you had a clean bulk because you're allergic to gluten, and then like everything that's like gluten related is like mostly fast food and stuff like that. And like unless you were eating desserts, like I feel like you had a clean bulk. Even if you ate extra, past your calorie surplus, at least you weren't eating fast food. I don't know unless you were eating fast food, but it's kind of hard to eat fast food because everything has gluten in it. Everything's wheat almost.
Well, the two I would say the two most common things that I would eat, not well, I ate a lot of ice cream.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
dessert, you're to your point, dessert, yes. Um, but I also ate maybe once a week. I would eat Jersey Mike's has like the gluten-free sub rolls. I would eat a giant Jersey Mike's sub that was like 2,100 calories in itself, and then I would have 2 bags of baked lays with it. So it's not like it
Two
was like
bags.
the super
Okay.
bad chips, but obviously most chips, unless they're made to be healthy, are probably somewhat
Honestly, I haven't
unhealthy.
looked at the calories on that, but is it like less than the regular bread? Having that gluten free bread, or in general, is it less than like a regular bread?
I think it's a little bit less, yeah, but it's not like anything significant. All I know is the sub itself, just because they put a bunch of like oil and all
Oh,
that
that
stuff
yeah.
on it, so it's like the sub itself was like 2,200 calories, which for most people that's their entire day. For me, that was like half of my day,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, that would be my whole day right there.
again, for someone like me who I have a very fast metabolism, my maintenance calories are very high. Being in a bulk is a chore because I had to just constantly be eating all day, all day, all day throughout the day because my metabolism is so fast that if I even hit my maintenance, I was like losing weight,
Yeah.
which is crazy. So I guess,
I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, what you said right now, yeah, it's not the cleanest. It's not like totally clean, but I mean, it's cleaner than what other people would do. Like
oh yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
was still eating like chicken and rice and a vegetable. It's not like I was just like stuffing my face with sleeves of Oreos.
yeah. So like you had a relatively clean bulk still ish.
Well, I guess the point I was making was in the past I had bulked a lot cleaner.
Okay.
I didn't say this was necessarily a dirty bulk. I didn't get fat. It just wasn't as clean as how I had done it in the past, where I didn't have like a deadline of having to be a certain weight by a certain day.
Mm.
Because obviously I wanted to weigh as much as possible on meat day, because body weight is typically correlated to strength output. So for me, I wanted a higher body weight for higher strength output. But
Yeah, man, diet.
we just,
Calorie deficit.
again,
Yeah.
the deficit, bulk to build the abs, deficit to reveal the abs,
Mhm.
right? You have to have a slab if you want to be able to chisel it down.
Yeah. To be honest, man, I'm kind of surprised I had abs when I did my cut because I honestly hardly trade them during my cut, bro. And I'm surprised I have like them still after because my bulk I wasn't doing abs at all. So I'm surprised I just it's just genetic too sometimes.
But again, and that's the kind of thing, that's actually exactly where I want to start when we're talking about different exercises to work the core and the abs, because most compound lifts, I've already given the example of squat and deadlift. When you're bracing your core, you're sending signals to your core to recruit muscle fibers for the strength output. That's indirectly working your core and making it stronger. So even people that aren't like
Yeah.
necessarily doing 5, 10, 15 minutes of ab workouts at the end of their like normal session, if they're doing these compound movements, they're most likely still at the very least doing some muscle building
You
in
know
the
what?
core
Yeah, I
area.
keep forgetting about that. Like when I first heard of it, I kind of didn't believe it because they say like, oh, the squats help train your abs. At first, I didn't believe it, but then I kept on hearing it. I was like, oh shit, I guess it really does help train your abs. I
Yeah.
keep forgetting about that too. Yeah, so everything you do in your core is gonna train your abs. So that makes sense. Why I even have any? Dude, I swear I do them like twice and it's like really quick, most for sure, like a week.
What,
If that,
abs? Oh,
yeah,
twice a
like
week?
yeah,
No, again,
maybe
that's something.
once here in like a few of the weeks too. Like for sure, for a few of the weeks it was like once a week.
No, yeah, that's something that if you get a coach and you're like, I want to get 6-pack abs, and they program you like 4 or 5 days a week of abs, like
Yeah,
that's
it's
too much.
Yeah, yeah.
Like any client that I have that I've programmed, I don't even always program core, but I have some people that like I can think of one client off the top of my head, for example. Um, like we've talked about, she was like pretty new to like the gym overall, so I only programmed her 3 days of weightlifting, but she had 5 or 6 days a week that she was available to go to the gym. So 3 days of weightlifting and then 2 days of cardio and core. If she did cardio for 30 minutes and core for 15 minutes, that's still, I mean, 45 minutes in the gym plus stretching, whatever, that's still like a decent session. So it was the kind of thing that I didn't need to program her to go to crazy failure on every ab exercise 6 days a week, even on her rest day. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have to do all that. You just have to be strategic with the muscles that you're targeting, and then obviously, like we talked about, diet correctly.
Yeah.
So with that, I think just to get into some of the exercises that are going to target. So these first few talking about the core, it's really going to target everything. So deadlift, squats, we get that out of the way. Planks.
I like those. You feel them in your shoulders too. They work at your shoulders too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because you're just literally holding yourself up.
Yeah.
Um,
That really helps get that it's supposed to help you get that middle line too.
yeah, I think planks.
I mean that's genetic though too, of course, but yeah.
Planks, in my opinion, are probably one of the most overall core engaging. Like you're gonna recruit everything. You're not just gonna be working your obliques. You're not just gonna be working your abs. It's gonna be your entire core. So that's something that I do typically program for my clients. Russian twists are huge as well. This is more for like the obliques, like the sides, the love handles. And then you are able to kind of like, I feel like not many people do this, but you're able to do like somewhat of a variation of Russian twists where you can be doing it like sitting on the ground, but you can also do it on like the decline bench.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And so that's one thing that like just by holding yourself up in that way, you're kind of overall working the core a little more. And then depending on how leaned back or leaned forward, you're going to be able to isolate different parts of the again, you're not going to be able to take everything out, but you'll be able to isolate different parts just depending on how lean back or lean forward you are.
Do you think I haven't done it like that, but do you think you're losing less core? Because I know it's a lot tougher when you do it like, like a regular Russian twist when you're on the floor, you put your feet up. I feel like that's tougher, but how is it compared to doing it on the decline? Is it like a little bit easier? Because you have like your feet, stationed, you can,
Well, I personally feel like it recruits more core just because like I'm using my legs to keep myself more steady. So I find more stability in the movement that way. Because if you think about it, and I don't know if this was just me, let me know if you did it this way as well. When I would do it on the ground, I would feel my legs moving like the opposite of whatever direction I was going. So when I'm able to do it on the decline bench, my legs are just like locked into that spot. So there's no extra rotation. It's just my core braced and me putting the ball or putting the weight side to side.
Yeah, I definitely move my feet, but you can get less of that if your core is on point. Like you got a good core, like you can for sure like move your feet less, but it's not gonna take it out totally. Then putting it on a decline for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my question was like, if someone was new, of course, if they're new, the Russian twist, you gotta do with your feet on the ground first. Like you're not gonna be able to do it with them up. So I was wondering if it was someone new, like someone new can just do this, the decline. Like it should be no problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So honestly, if you're new, I would recommend doing it that way.
They'll get a
So
better.
you can build up the stability to then be able to do a free weight motion. Because as we know, any free weight motion is going to be generally more beneficial than something that's guided by a bench or a machine or a cable. You're just recruiting the muscle fiber in a different way. The tension is there in a different way. So on these other ways, yes, there's different ways to target the tension, but just general overarching statement, if you're able to do something with weight compared to something where you're like being held in, core wise is going to be a lot more beneficial to be able to do the weight.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but if I do the Russian twist like free weight, like freestyle, I have to have like some kind of like weight, like something in the middle. Like even if I'm holding my phone, like I feel like I need to have something where I can get like that motion.
Yeah, I've seen people do it where they just like tap their fingertips on the ground. I'm like,
I do that.
I think it's one of those
Yeah.
like mental things.
I do that if I have nothing. I gotta do the ground, fuck it, But like it's like a mental thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Any other core exercise? I mean, I feel like those are probably the main ones, but any other like specific ones you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean, yeah, that's good enough. Those are like the main ones that you should be doing. Everything else, well, I mean, there's a lot of core exercises, but like these are like the bread and butter.
For sure. So with that, I think we should move on to the ab exercises.
Yeah.
This is something, again, we're gonna give you some just like general exercises here. They're really, you're only able to target the top and the bottom of the abs.
I mean, like we said earlier, like you only need to do like one of each muscle group, and then you're good.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what
Yeah.
I was gonna say. Is if you're only targeting the top and bottom, you don't need to do 4 things for the top and 4 things for the bottom. You really just need to do one for each. Otherwise, you're gonna overtrain.
Oh man, so I don't need to hang from like the pull-up bar and like do ab crunches.
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like hanging leg raises are for the bottom part, for the rectus abdominis.
Uh-huh.
I would say the hanging leg raises are gonna be like the number one exercise. Probably something
You're talking
that,
about like when you're like this, right? Or
like
what-
when you're holding on to the pull up
Oh,
bar
yeah, okay.
and you're raising your legs in front
yeah.
of you.
Okay, yeah.
So, preface by saying, you're probably not just gonna be able to do this.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to work up to it. So be patient.
Mhm.
But once you are able to do it, just the way your body is positioned, you're gonna be able to get the best hypertrophy movement for the rectus abdominis.
Do you know what the machine is called? For that one that you can like, it's like the handicap. I guess not the handicap, but like to help you, the assist to do the leg races. The one that I use a lot too. The one you go like this, and you do leg races, and you have the back support. Do you know what that's called?
Like the one that you do dips on?
Yeah, yeah.
I just always called that I never really called it anything. I just knew I would do it for either dips or the abs exercise.
No, because I was just wondering if you had a name so we could just tell the viewers like, oh, this is like, because you could do
no.
that first. You should do that first, build up, and then do the hanging like you said.
Yeah, well, like,
Yeah.
it's exactly like what I had said for the last thing for the Russian twists. This would be like the free weight version of it, where you need to build up with the stability of having the pad pushing against your back and your hands on the handles there. So I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
You definitely need to build up to it, and that's probably the way that you would do it. Because
Maybe even the easier one's just doing it on the floor. Honestly, right?
dude, I was
Or
just
no.
gonna say I've tried laying on the floor, and I find that much more difficult.
Well, I guess it's kind of a technique too, because for me, I can't have my hands like this. I have to put my hands like underneath my butt.
Well, I was gonna say when I do that, I would always feel my lower back raise, and therefore I would take my rectus abdominis out of it.
Okay.
So again, that may just be like a
I
personal
think yeah,
preference,
it could just depend. Yeah.
but that's been my experience with it. Is
Could be like
I started out with the, I'm gonna call it like the backwards dip machine. I don't really know what else to call it.
yeah.
I started out with that. Then I did it on the ground, and then I made my way to the hanging leg raises. But I
Okay.
mean, this is also something I haven't done abs in probably over a year. So
Okay. Yeah, I think could also depend. Like if you do it on the floor, like if you do it on a padding, or you just do like straight, wood floor. Like I'm sure that makes a difference too.
oh my
Of
god,
like
that sounds awful.
yeah, but like if you're doing like at home, like if you don't have a mat, like or what,
You
like
ain't got no rug, bro.
okay, like how much of a difference is a rug gonna make than like a mat, at the gym, like a nice.
My rug is wicked soft.
But some people have small thins, small thin rugs. Okay, but like actual mat on the gym, commercial gym, like that's a big difference still.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you a hard
Come
time.
on, man. Okay.
You love trolling, but when I troll you, you can't take it.
Well, it's not a good trail. That's the thing.
Yeah. So the hanging leg raise is rectus abdominis. Let's see. So for the top, so the transverse abdominis, I would say the three most common. So sit ups and crunches, and I'll ask you a question in a second, and then just doing the vacuum itself. So what a lot of people don't realize, and I don't know if this is very well known, posing actually helps with hypertrophy by getting the blood to the muscle that you're trying to target. So when you pose, you're
So I should flex my abs in the mirror after my bicep set.
no, that's not how it works.
I'm
But
just joking.
what I'm trying to say is like if you do the vacuum pose, you're teaching your body to control that muscle. So the more you do the vacuum pose over time, obviously with proper exercise and diet over time, your vacuum is going to get better, it's going to get tighter, it's going to be more of that suction under the ribs look, where you'll still be able to see somewhat of the outline of the abs.
I mean, not gonna lie, you try it for the first time, you're gonna notice like, oh, this shit's a workout. It's not easy. Like you could just try it on your own, like and like the first few seconds, you're gonna know like, oh, this is not easy. You're not gonna be able to hold it for that long too.
Yeah, well, I remember last year when I was doing more of the bodybuilding style training. I remember one time Mark and I posed at Gold's, and I did the vacuum, and he was like, "Wow, that's crazy! Like your vacuum came out sick. Like that's crazy that it's so natural for you." And I was like, "Natural? The fuck, bro? I've been working on this shit for like 6 months. Like I've just been doing this every day after I work out for 6 months." It was just like the first time that I was, obviously body dysmorphia came into this a lot, but it was the first time that I felt confident enough to film myself doing it and then actually post it.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, he was like, "Oh, that's crazy. It came natural." I was like, "Natural, bro. I've been doing this every fucking day."
Yeah, it's definitely tough to do it, and sometimes honestly for me, I kind of forget to do it too, because it's just like a random. I don't know. I don't think it's like in my head to like do it, but well, sometimes I do it at work because you can do it anywhere too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of those things you can just train anywhere when you're working and stuff like that at home.
Yeah, so
Which
you
is
can
kinda
really
nice.
do that anywhere. And then, like, sit ups and crunches, again, this is something that there's a lot of machine. If you can't do body weight sit ups or if you can't do body weight crunches, there's a lot of machines that will help you build up to the being able to do that. This is another one you can do on, like, the decline press bench and then work up to being able to do it either free weight or one thing that I did.
I think depending on your decline, you have to move it up to make it a little easier because you have that thing all the way down. It's gonna be tough for the newer people.
Well, again, that's part of
Yeah.
easing into it.
Yeah.
But then one thing that I was able to kind of assimilate into my progression before I was able to do body weight crunches, um, but I had done it on the decline bench, and before I went straight to body weight crunches, um, LA Fitness had those big tires, and so I would lay in a way
Oh.
where my butt would pretty much be touching the tire, but not quite. And so I would lay in a way where maybe just like slightly my heels were touching the tire, but I tried to stay elevated. And I would do the crunches in a way where I would only use the tire as I was getting towards the end of the set, where overall I was getting more tired and my like form and my core was probably breaking down a little more. So then I kind of used that tire as like almost like a spot for my last few reps. And then that's when once I felt good about doing that, that's when I went into only doing the body weight.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I think for crunches too, like somebody needs to have like some kind of foot support too, or like ab crunches, because you're not gonna be able to do like free ball for sure. Like that's tough for me too. Like I need to put like some kind of dumbbell. I need to have something on my feet to like stabilize, which makes the what you said the decline a lot easier. But if you're not used to it, like on a real low decline, like you should move it up a little bit so it's easier.
Yeah,
It's
well,
more flat. Yeah.
what you're saying is more of a sit up than a crunch. The crunch is when
oh,
your
my bad.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
knees are straight up.
Oh, my bad. My bad. Yeah,
But
you're right. Yeah.
I personally prefer the sit up to the crunch and agree with what you're saying.
I get you now. Yeah.
I felt a lot better with like 50-pound weights just like over the middle of my foot than I did when I was doing like, because you can't really do sit ups free weight. Like you need something holding your feet down or someone standing on your feet.
Yeah.
Crunches you can do a little more free weight, but again, ease into it because it's going to be a lot more difficult to just be able to. You're not going to typically be able to just do that off the bat. I think the only other area to work would be the obliques. This is something like we said, the Russian twists are going to for sure target the obliques. My favorite oblique exercise, and I don't know the name of it actually, but I call this is one of those exercises that I just gave it a name in my head, but I don't think anyone else probably calls it this.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the teapot.
The teapot.
Because it's the one where you hold one dumbbell at your side.
Oh, that thing.
And you lean, and then like you feel it in your oblique as you like pull it up. But I think I just remember way back in the day when I was a kid, the little teapot short and like a lot of the movement was like that.
Uh-huh.
Do you have
I don't have a name for it.
Do you have any idea what I'm talking about with this?
No,
Because I know you know the exercise.
Yeah.
But have you ever heard the I'm a little teapot short and
I'm gonna be honest with you, no, I didn't.
Here is my handle, here is my stout.
No, I haven't.
All right.
Well, it is what it is, you know?
I don't know if this
I
makes
won't
me
say
feel
anything.
old or what, but
I mean, it's already like 3 years older than me. It's not a big difference.
maybe we just had different childhoods.
Yeah. Is
But,
what it is.
I mean, anything other than the teapot. I don't care what you call it.
I like doing it. Well, for me, I like doing it on that back extension machine. Hopefully I'm getting the name right. You know when a zoo at the corner that where you could do the back thing.
Yeah.
The back extensions. I like doing my obliques there. I know it's kind of weird. It feels awkward, but you get like I feel like I get a deeper stretch when I'm sitting sideways on it.
No,
And,
I agree, and I used to do it that way as well. But it is the same idea as do it standing up first, where you're building the stability, and then move over to the back extension where you're kind of taking your leg stability out and you're using more of your core stability because obviously it's a movement to focus on the core.
Yeah, for me, I was just naming my personal favorite out of that.
No, I know, I'm
obliques,
agreeing
yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
I think doing it on the back extension is better once you're at the point of being able to do it on the back extension.
Sounds good.
So I think that's very in depth when it comes to the core and abs.
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
we went in deep, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really, it's
yeah.
just it's gonna help with overall strength and stability, and it's gonna make you look aesthetic as fuck. So,
Mhm.
just whether you're working it directly or indirectly, just
Especially you got that small waist, nice obliques, man.
for sure. So, I hit the Zispos a little early actually, because right now we're just gonna jump into the sick cunt of the week.
Yes, sir, dude. Best segment of the day.
Sick cunt of the week, baby.
Oh, okay. I thought you took it away, dude. The sick count of the week, man. You know
Who
who's
is
gonna
it?
be this week? It's gonna be the one time only. I'm gonna say this. It's gonna be Mike right here, cause his birthday just passed.
My birthday's tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Friday. Damn.
No,
It's
my
gonna-
birthday's tomorrow.
All right, we'll cut this out. We'll cut this out.
Well, by the time this episode airs, my birthday will have passed. So I guess you are.
Yo.
We'll pretend that you thought about
Shit.
it like that. So this episode's gonna air on Thursday. My birthday is gonna be
Might be.
Sunday, October 1st.
All right, sounds good.
But it's a big one.
Yeah, we'll cut that part out. I'll cut that part out.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
30-3-0.
Okay. The big three. The big three. 3-0.
The big 3-0.
The big three. Yes, sir.
The big three, bro. What is this? The Celtics in 07-08?
Let's go. All right, man. Well, let's close this up. It was a long segment.
All right, for sure. So thank you as always for tuning in. As you know by now, we're going to be dropping new episodes every Thursday morning on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe. However you're watching or listening, we appreciate your support. I'm Mike.
And I'm Josh.
Make sure to make those sweet gains. Keep living life unracked, baby. Let's go!
Like the fucking video.